Listen closely. If you've ever felt invisible to a woman you care about or watched her drift without resistance, this message is for you. Modern dating is loud, fast, and emotional. Everyone is talking. Everyone is explaining themselves. Everyone is chasing attention. That noise is exactly why most men lose their edge. Stoicism gives it back. Making a woman miss you does not come from tricks, pressure, or constant availability. It comes from how you carry yourself when nothing is guaranteed. Most men lean forward when interest is low. They text more. They explain more. They give more. That reaction feels natural, but it quietly erodes respect. Attraction does not grow in a crowded emotional space. It grows in silence, contrast, and strength. And Stoicism teaches control of self before control of outcome. When you master that, everything changes. You stop reacting, you stop seeking validation, you stop trying to convince. Instead, you move with intention. You speak when there is something worth saying. You leave when your presence is no longer valued. That shift alone alters how women experience you. A woman misses a man when his absence feels heavier than his presence ever did. That weight comes from consistency, emotional stability, and restraint. When you are calm under pressure, when you do not chase uncertainty, when you maintain your rhythm regardless of her response, you become different from the men she is used to. Different is memorable. This is especially powerful when she is not interested at first. Disinterest often comes from predictability. She already knows what most men will do. They will try harder, they will overinvest, they will lose themselves. When you don't follow that script, curiosity replaces certainty. Curiosity creates space. Space creates reflection. Reflection creates missing. Stoicism is not coldness. It is discipline. It is knowing your worth without announcing it. It is being present without being dependent. It is allowing someone to feel the natural consequence of your absence without resentment. You do not withdraw to punish. You withdraw to protect your standards. Throughout this video, you'll learn how to apply Stoic principles in a way that fits the modern dating world. No games, no dishonesty, no begging for attention. These are tactics rooted in self-command, emotional restraint, and quiet confidence. The kind that changes how women feel without you saying a word. If you stay until the end, you will understand how to create longing without force, how to exit gracefully without burning bridges, and how to position yourself as the man she thinks about when the noise finally dies down. 1. Controlled distance. Most men think attraction is built by being present as much as possible. That belief is exactly why they get taken for granted. Presence only has value when it is not guaranteed. Controlled distance is the foundation of making a woman miss you, especially when her interest is low or uncertain. Controlled distance does not mean disappearing without explanation or acting distant on purpose. It means regulating access to you. Your time, attention, and emotional energy stop being unlimited resources. When something is always available, the mind stops registering its importance. When access becomes selective, awareness increases. Here's the key. Distance works only when it is calm. If you pull back with frustration, she feels tension. If you pull back with silence and self-respect, she feels contrast. Contrast makes her notice the change. Notice leads to reflection. Reflection creates missing. Men often sabotage themselves by filling every gap. A pause in conversation feels uncomfortable, so they rush to fix it. A delayed response feels risky, so they overcompensate. That behavior communicates anxiety. Anxiety lowers perceived value. Controlled distance communicates stability. Stability creates safety. Safety creates curiosity. When you slow down your responses, you're not playing games. You're living your life. You answer when it makes sense, not when fear tells you to. You leave conversations on a high point instead of dragging them until they fade. You allow silence to exist without rushing to resolve it. Women are highly attuned to emotional shifts. When you suddenly stop chasing, stop explaining, and stop seeking reassurance. She feels the difference immediately. Her mind starts asking questions. Where did his attention go? Why doesn't he need this interaction as much as others do? Those questions pull her toward you without you lifting a finger. Controlled distance also shows that your identity does not revolve around her reaction. You do not change your pace based on her interest level. You stay steady. That steadiness signals confidence without words. It suggests that you have purpose, structure, and fulfillment outside of her validation. Another critical part of controlled distance is knowing when to leave. When conversations become one-sided, when effort is not matched, when respect drops, you exit calmly. No speeches, no ultimatums, no emotional outbursts. You simply reduce access. That withdrawal is felt deeply because it is rare. Most men stay and tolerate less than they deserve. This is where Stoicism matters. You accept what you cannot control. You do not cling to outcomes. You focus on your conduct. You show up as a man who knows when to engage and when to step back. That balance creates emotional tension in a healthy way. When a woman experiences a man who is present but not dependent, attentive but not needy, warm but not overextended, she remembers him. And when he creates space, that memory has room to breathe. That is how missing begins. 2. Emotional economy men lose attraction when they overspend emotionally. They give too much reassurance, too much availability, too much explanation. Emotional economy means you are deliberate with what you share and when you share it. Not because you are hiding, but because your inner world has value. In modern dating, many men wear their emotions on their sleeve early. They reveal intentions too fast, express attachment too soon, and try to create closeness before it has been earned. This creates imbalance. When one person invests far more emotionally than the other, interest drops. Balance keeps attraction alive. Emotional economy starts with restraint. You feel deeply, but you do not unload everything at once. You let connection develop in stages. Each interaction leaves something unsaid. That unfinished space invites curiosity. Curiosity keeps her thinking about you when you are not there. A stoic man does not suppress emotion. He regulates it. He chooses when to speak and when to remain quiet. He does not rush to define the connection. He allows experiences to speak louder than words. This makes your presence feel grounded instead of overwhelming. Most men try to secure certainty through verbal confirmation. They ask where they stand. They seek reassurance. They want clarity before it exists. That behavior signals fear of loss. Fear weakens attraction. Emotional economy signals patience. Patience suggests confidence in self. When you share less, your words carry more weight. Compliments land deeper. Affection feels intentional. Attention becomes meaningful. She starts to feel the difference between you and men who flood her with emotion, hoping for a response. Another aspect of emotional economy is not reacting impulsively. If she pulls back, you do not chase. If she tests boundaries, you do not over-explain. You observe. You adjust calmly. Emotional control is rare, and rarity creates value. This does not mean being indifferent. It means being composed. You care without clinging. You express interest without surrendering self-respect. That balance makes you unpredictable in a healthy way. She cannot easily place you into the category of men who overinvest. Women miss men who made them feel something without draining them emotionally. When every interaction feels intense or heavy, relief comes from distance. When interactions feel steady and engaging, distance creates longing. Emotional economy also protects you. It prevents burnout. It keeps you from building expectations too early. You stay centered regardless of outcome. That inner stability changes how you move, how you speak, how you listen. She feels that even if she cannot explain it. When a woman senses that your emotional world is full, structured, and self-sustaining, she becomes more attentive. She wants to earn access. She wants to understand you. That effort is what creates attachment. You are not trying to make her miss you by withholding. You are allowing her to experience the natural consequence of limited access to a man who values himself. When you step back without resentment and remain steady, she feels the absence more clearly. This is how emotional economy works. You invest with intention. You protect your inner space. And when you are not present, your energy still lingers. 3. Predictable. Exit. Most men focus on how to enter a woman's life. Very few think about how they leave. Your exit matters more than your entrance. A predictable exit creates respect, and respect is the soil where missing grows. A predictable exit means you do not linger where you are no longer valued. You do not stay hoping things will improve. You do not argue for attention. You do not announce your departure with emotion. You leave quietly, cleanly, and without bitterness. When men stay too long, they erode their own image. Every unanswered message, every unreturned effort, every ignored boundary chips away at how they are perceived. By the time they finally leave, there is nothing left to miss. Predictable exit prevents that damage. Stoicism teaches acceptance of reality as it is. If interest is not mutual, you acknowledge it without internal drama. You do not personalize rejection. You do not try to prove your worth. You adjust your presence accordingly. A predictable exit is not sudden or dramatic. It follows clear patterns. When effort is not matched, you reduce investment. When respect drops, you disengage. When communication fades, you allow it to fade. No confrontation is needed. Your behavior speaks. Women notice this. Most men either cling or explode. Calm withdrawal is rare. When you exit with dignity, it creates an emotional echo. She replays interactions in her mind. She wonders why you did not fight for attention like others. That curiosity often appears after you are gone. Predictable exit also communicates boundaries. It shows that access to you is conditional on mutual effort. That standard elevates your value. Even if she was not interested at first, she now associates you with self-respect and strength. Another important detail is consistency. You do not exit and return repeatedly. That pattern looks unstable. When you step back, you stay back. That firmness makes the absence real. Real absence is what creates space for missing. Men often fear that leaving will erase them from her mind. The opposite is usually true. What fades quickly is neediness. What lingers is composure. A man who leaves without complaint leaves an impression. Predictable exit also protects your emotional health. You conserve energy. You avoid resentment. You remain aligned with your values. That internal alignment sharpens your presence everywhere else in life. When a woman later reflects, she remembers how you made her feel and how you handled distance. If your exit was clean, it contrasts sharply with men who overstayed. That contrast makes you stand out. This is not a tactic to force regret. It is a standard for how you move through relationships. You teach others how to treat you by what you tolerate. When you tolerate little and leave calmly, you raise the bar. Missing is not created by begging someone to care. It is created when someone realizes your absence changed the emotional atmosphere. Predictable exit ensures that when you leave, something meaningful leaves with you. That is power without aggression, control without force, presence without dependence. 4. Silent consistency. Most men try to impress through bursts of effort, big gestures, long explanations, sudden intensity. That approach rarely lasts, and when it fades, so does attraction. Silent consistency works because it is steady, reliable, and rare. Silent consistency means your behavior does not swing based on her mood or level of interest. You show up the same way whether she is engaged or distant. Calm, grounded, self-directed. That steadiness creates emotional security without pressure. In modern dating, emotional volatility is common. Hot one day, cold the next. Many men mirror that energy without realizing it. When she pulls back, they pull forward. When she engages, they overextend. This reactive pattern makes you forgettable. Stoic consistency makes you stand out. You do not chase highs or panic during lows. You keep your pace. You respect your routines, your priorities, and your values. She feels that stability even if she cannot name it. Silent consistency also means you do not announce your standards. You live them. You do not threaten to leave. You leave when necessary. You do not demand effort. You respond to effort. That quiet alignment builds trust. When a woman experiences consistent treatment without emotional pressure, she relaxes. When you then create space, that relaxation turns into awareness. She notices the absence of something dependable. Dependability is often missed more than excitement. Another aspect of silent consistency is emotional tone. You avoid extremes. You are not overly enthusiastic or withdrawn. You listen more than you speak. You respond instead of react. That composure makes interactions feel clean and memorable. Men often think mystery comes from being unpredictable. Real mystery comes from being unreadable emotionally. When your mood is not easily influenced, people pay closer attention. They try to understand you. That effort deepens interest. Silent consistency also prevents overexposure. You do not flood her with updates. You do not narrate your life. You share selectively. Each interaction feels intentional rather than habitual. When interest is low, this approach is especially powerful. Instead of trying to win her over, you continue being yourself without attachment. That non-attachment removes pressure. Pressure kills attraction. Ease allows it to grow. Women miss men who made them feel steady. In a world of emotional noise, calm presence becomes addictive. When it's gone, the silence is noticeable. Silent consistency also reinforces your self-image. You become the kind of man who does not bend for attention. That self-respect shows in posture, tone, and decisions. Attraction often follows internal alignment. You are not trying to create longing through absence alone. You create it by being someone whose presence had structure and calm. When that presence is removed, the contrast is felt. This is Stoicism in motion. You act with intention. You remain centered. You allow outcomes to unfold without forcing them. And when you are gone, the consistency you brought is what gets missed. 5. Scarcity of access. Most men believe being available makes them likable. In reality, constant availability makes you easy to forget. Scarcity of access is not about pretending to be busy. It is about having a life that does not revolve around one woman's attention. Scarcity works because the mind values what it cannot easily reach. When access to you is limited, your presence carries weight. When access is unlimited, your presence blends into the background. Scarcity of access starts with structure. You have routines, responsibilities, and personal goals that come first. You do not cancel plans impulsively. You do not rearrange your life for last-minute attention. That discipline communicates self-respect without a single word. Men often overexpose themselves early. Constant messaging, constant availability, constant emotional access. This creates familiarity too fast. Familiarity without depth leads to boredom. Scarcity slows the process and allows attraction to develop naturally. A Stoic man does not explain why he is unavailable. He simply is. He does not justify his schedule or seek permission to live his life. That independence is felt immediately. When a woman senses that your time is valuable and protected, she becomes more intentional. She engages with more focus. She pays attention. The dynamic shifts from you seeking her attention to her noticing yours. Scarcity of access also prevents emotional dependence. You do not rely on her responses to regulate your mood. Your fulfillment comes from multiple sources. That balance creates emotional strength. Emotional strength is attractive. Another important element is presence when you are available. Scarcity only works if your presence is meaningful. When you show up, you are engaged, calm, and attentive. Quality replaces quantity. That contrast makes your absence noticeable. Women miss men who brought value during limited interactions. Long, drawn-out conversations fade from memory. Short, impactful ones linger. You leave before energy drops. You allow anticipation to build. Scarcity of access also filters interest. Those who are genuinely curious will adjust. Those who are only enjoying convenience will fade. Either outcome works in your favor. You maintain dignity. Men sometimes confuse scarcity with coldness. Coldness pushes people away. Scarcity invites them closer. The difference is tone. You remain respectful, warm, and composed. You simply do not overextend. In modern dating, attention is cheap. Everyone is reachable at all times. When you are not, you stand out. That difference creates mental space. Mental space is where missing forms. Scarcity of access is not a trick. It is a byproduct of a disciplined life. When you value your time, others follow. When you protect your energy, your presence gains gravity. A woman may not realize what she lost immediately. Often, it takes time and comparison. When she encounters men who are always available, always reactive, always seeking approval, the contrast sharpens. That is when she remembers you, the man who had boundaries, the man who moved with purpose, the man whose absence changed the rhythm. Scarcity of access turns your absence into a signal, and signals, when consistent, are impossible to ignore. 6. Outcome. Independence. Nothing makes a man more magnetic than not needing a specific outcome. Outcome independence is the quiet strength of knowing you will be fine whether she stays, leaves, or never engages at all. This mindset changes how every interaction feels. Most men attach their self-worth to results, a reply, a date, Interest. When those things don't happen, their behavior shifts. They try harder. They explain more. They seek reassurance. That emotional shift is felt immediately, and it weakens attraction. Outcome independence removes that pressure. You are present, engaged, and respectful, but you are not invested in controlling how she feels. You allow her to respond freely. Freedom is attractive, pressure is not. Stoicism teaches focus on what you can control. Your actions, your conduct, your standards. You release attachment to what you cannot control. Her interest level is outside your control. When you accept that fully, your energy stabilizes. Women sense this quickly. A man who is outcome independent does not fish for validation. He does not overreact to mixed signals. He does not chase clarity. He allows things to unfold naturally. This creates a powerful dynamic. When you stop trying to secure her interest, she feels space. In that space, curiosity often emerges. Why doesn't he need this? Why isn't he pushing? Why does he seem unchanged? Outcome independence also affects how you handle rejection. You do not internalize it. You do not turn cold or resentful. You adjust your presence and move forward. That emotional maturity leaves a lasting impression. Men who are remembered are not always the ones who tried the hardest. They are the ones who remained grounded regardless of outcome. That groundedness is rare. Another benefit is authenticity. When you are not chasing a result, you are more yourself. You speak honestly. You listen without agenda. You enjoy the interaction for what it is. That authenticity creates real connection. Outcome independence also sharpens your decision making. You are willing to walk away from situations that don't align with your values. You do not tolerate disrespect to keep potential alive. That self-respect increases your value. Women miss men who did not need them. Not because they felt unimportant, but because the interaction felt balanced. Balanced dynamics are memorable. When you step back with outcome independence, your absence does not feel like a tactic. It feels natural. That naturalness makes it more powerful. She cannot label it as a game. Over time, this mindset compounds. You become calmer, more selective, more intentional. Your presence carries less tension and more confidence. That shift affects every relationship, not just romantic ones. Outcome independence is not emotional detachment. It is emotional strength. You care without clinging. You engage without attachment. That balance allows attraction to breathe. When a woman reflects on you, she remembers how effortless it felt, how there was no pressure, how you seemed whole on your own. And when someone whole steps away, the absence is felt deeply. This is one of the strongest stoic positions a man can hold, and it changes everything. 7. Calm authority. Calm authority is the final layer, and it ties everything together. It is not dominance. It is not control. It is the quiet certainty in how you move, decide, and respond. Calm authority is felt more than it is seen, and it leaves a deep impression. Most men try to lead through words. They explain their intentions, they negotiate attraction, they try to reason their way into being desired. Calm authority removes the need for explanation. Your behavior does the work. A man with calm authority does not rush decisions. He does not seek approval before acting. He is decisive without being rigid. That decisiveness creates safety. Safety allows attraction to grow without force. In interactions with women, calm authority shows up in small moments. You choose the time you leave. You set the pace of the interaction. You do not ask for permission to be yourself. You invite rather than pursue. Women are drawn to men who seem internally led. When your actions come from clarity rather than reaction, you stand apart. Calm authority signals that you trust your judgment. Trust in self is contagious. This also affects how you handle disagreement or distance. You do not argue to be understood. You state your position once, calmly, and you let it stand. If alignment is not there, you disengage without hostility. That composure is powerful. Men often mistake calm authority for aloofness. It is the opposite. You are present and engaged, but not emotionally volatile. You listen carefully. You speak deliberately. Your tone remains steady. When a woman experiences this, she feels grounded around you. Grounded experiences are rare. When they disappear, the absence is felt more strongly than excitement ever was. Calm authority also means you do not chase closure. You do not need final conversations or emotional explanations. You accept unfinished endings. That acceptance signals strength. Another important element is self-trust. You do not second-guess your boundaries. You do not reopen doors out of loneliness. You move forward cleanly. That forward motion creates respect. Women miss men who felt solid, men who did not wobble emotionally, men who did not need constant reassurance. Calm authority leaves a psychological imprint. This trait cannot be faked long-term. It is built through discipline, reflection, and consistency. The more you align your actions with your values, the more natural it becomes. When you combine calm authority with controlled distance, emotional economy, predictable exit, silent consistency, scarcity of access, and outcome independence, something changes. You are no longer trying to be missed. You simply are. Your absence carries meaning because your presence had structure. Your silence carries weight because your words were measured. Your exit feels final because it was dignified. Calm authority is the quiet ending note that lingers after the sound is gone. And that lingering is what missing truly is. When you hold this frame, you stop chasing reactions. You become the standard. And standards are remembered long after emotions fade. Making a woman miss you is never about force or persuasion. It is about how you move when nothing is promised. Stoicism gives you that edge. You stop reacting, you stop chasing, you stop explaining yourself into exhaustion. Instead, you live with structure, restraint, and self-respect. When your presence is calm, your absence has weight. When your standards are quiet, they are felt. Whether she becomes interested or not, you win. You walk away intact, stronger, and centered. And that is the kind of man who is never forgotten.